Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 1. We will present the basics of graphic designs.
What is graphic designs? Graphic designs is a form of visual communications that utilizes graphic elements such as images, text, colors, and so on to convey information effectively. Example of applying graphic designs other than product packaging include posters, billboards, brochures, and many more. Graphic designs elements. For the first point, a point is a small shape that has no dimensions. Generally, points are simple roundabouts compressed without corners and without directions. Dots tend to be displayed in groups varying in number, arrangement, and density. Points can form shapes if they are supported by movement, light, and color. Moving dots can give the impressions of a line. The appearance of light in a dot gives the impressions of a glow, and the appearance of colored dots placed close together gives the impressions as if there is another color, or gives the impressions of a new color.
I will be explaining about line, fill, and color. A line is a combination for several point elements that are parallel to each other, thus forming a single unit. Line elements will always be present every design. It can be long, short, straight, curved, thick, thin, dotted, and so on. Each line shape will create a different impression. For example, thick lines will create a firm impression, while thin or curved line will appear more flexible and dynamic. Line in a design function to create order, clarify certain points, and can be applied in making charts or graphs. Field. Planes are line whose and meet and create a closed area. This element is also often used in design. The plane occupies two-dimensional or bidimensional space. That is, it only has two dimensions, length and width. The use of plane element in graphic design is not only to define an object, but also adds to the attractiveness of the layout and help communicate and the designer ideas to the audience. Color. Color is an element that is no less important in graphic design. Color can give meaning and depth to a design. This element is divided into two categories, namely colors that arise from light RGB and colors that are made from ink elements CMYK.
Okay, the next element is texture. Texture is a visualization of the surface of an object that can be assessed by looking or touching. For example, the pattern of an object's surface. There are smooth, rough, soft, slippery, porous, shiny, and so on. The use of texture can add dimension and enrich a layout so that objects become more alive. Apart from that, texture can also make the audience get a certain feel or emotion in a design. Texture can be divided into two: visual texture and tactile texture. Visual texture is a texture that can be directly perceived by sight. Meanwhile, tactile texture is a texture that can be felt by sight and touch. And the last one is space. When creating a design, you may want to include a variety of objects to make it look richer and more interesting. However, sometimes objects that are too many and piled up will make the audience eyes become bored. For this reason, the element of space is needed. Space is the distance between graphic design elements such as objects, background, and text. Without speech, it will be difficult for us to digest the information we want to convey.
The principle of graphic design. In graphic designs, there are 8 main principles that need to be considered. Among them, there are unity, balance, proportion, emphasis, rhythm, simplicity, clarity, and space. First, unity. Unity in graphic designs mean cohesion, consistency, wholeness, and harmony of all design elements. By paying attention to the principle of unity, the work we create can be more unified and produce a strong theme. For example, when choosing a color tone for a design, you can use a color palette so that no colors clash with each other. Apart from that, you can also use the same or similar type of font if your design contains a lot of text. Second is balance. Well, in design, besides all the elements must be integrated with each other. We also need to pay attention to each of the compositions. For these reasons, there needs to be a principle of balance. By applying the principle of balance, the designs we make will have a good and more communicative aesthetics. There are 2 approaches in the principle of balance in graphic designs, namely symmetrical, asymmetrical, equivalent, and radial balance.
Proportion. Mathematically, proportion is the comparison of one part to another. In design, proportion is used as a scale to compare each element. For example, you want to create a film poster design, so the part you want to highlight to the audience is the image and title of the film. So the portion of these 2 elements will certainly be larger than the others. Emphasis is a way to determine which parts are priority in design you create. Usually, this section is the information or impression that we want to convey to the audience. Well, emphasis and proportion are of course interconnected. Yes, the elements that you think are priorities will definitely have a large proportion than other elements. There are 3 types of emphasis in graphic design, namely, the first, hierarchy, which is determined based on order or arrangement. The second, scale and proportion, namely highlighting main information with a large font size or taking up more design space. The third, contrast, namely placing 2 design elements that conflict with each other in one design frame.
For the last, rhythm. Rhythm in graphic designs is repetitions or variations in design's elements. Rhythm can result from repeating the same elements in a consistent way, or elements that are different in terms of shape, size, positions, or element, but from a rhythmic pattern. Therefore, rhythm can make the audience's eyes move from one pattern to another, thereby creating a flow of views when looking at the designs you created.
That's all from us. We apologize if there are any errors and thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.